Alright, so now all those papers have dried, and let's see what we ended up with. Now remember, these are the ones that we dipped in the iron and that I put the chain in also into the water. And you can see how dark these have all come out. And what I call dramatic, because I guess they're moody to me because of their dark tint to it, because of what we dipped it in. So let's just go through these, and you can see here how the junk mail prints just great. And those of you that are into junk journaling, these are perfect to use. When I send things out to people, I will package them in here. I don't mail it in these, but I do put a little package together. Now, this is the scrapbook paper. Now, this particular paper, I don't know if it just didn't receive the print really well, or the plant that was on there, not sure. But there is some color, but not too dramatic of a print. Now this is the stationery paper, and you can see that that took the print really well. This was just a regular white envelope. Really cool. This is the printmaking paper. I like the feel of this. Now this is watercolor paper, 140 pound. This is a mixed media. And this is just that scrap paper that I'm not sure what it is. Feels like a thicker cardstock. This is really pretty too. I'm going to say that every time because I like them all. Now this is a manila folder. Remember I told you manila folders are one of my favorite. And I'm not sure how this all came about. It's kind of pixelated. I don't know what happened. But it still looks good. Now this was that brown paper bag that I inserted in there. I know there's individuals that like to make journals out of bags, and this would really look pretty cool. Again, this is another piece of the scrapbook paper. I took the print of that pretty good. Okay, now this is the vellum I told you, and you can see how the heat of the vellum, shrinks it up and makes it get all kind of wonky, but I still like it. I think it still looks pretty cool. It would make a really neat window or insert in a journal, or even a tag. It would look really nice. Alright, so this came out pretty cool too. This is that graphed paper. And what I thought is interesting is there's some that come with little squares that when you get it wet, it bleeds. This one didn't. It all stayed. So again, there's all different types of papers that react differently. Now this is the paper, that white paper that we use as our drop papers sometimes. And I also like the way that this prints. This one has a little tear, but that's to be expected. You're going to end up with some prints that don't hold up 100%. But I think this is really pretty. This one again is the stationery paper. Now a while back somebody had asked me, do you ever get sparkles on your paper? And I told them no. And I noticed that when I was going through these, there are sparkles on this paper. I think it's the, I'm thinking it's the alum, actually. Because if you look at it before you use it, they look like small little crystals. So I think maybe sometimes it has an effect. Like right here, I can see it at a certain angle, all these sparkles right there. Anyway, this is the mixed media paper. And stationery. White drop paper. And cardstock. This is a tracing paper. This is the calligraphy paper. And this is like that newsprint paper. Same newsprint. Stationery. This was the one that was laying on the bottom, second to the bottom, so it got pretty toasty. I think that one was on the bottom. And then this is the rice paper. Pretty cool. Now remember I told you that when I take the leaves off, I place them on a piece of copy paper, and that gives us our secondary prints. And so I'll show you how those came out. Some obviously print better than others, but they are great for using in your collage, painting over, drawing over, using them as pages in your journals. They're still light enough where you can do whatever it is you want to do on it. Even if you are, you know, you write in your journals, these are light enough that you can still do that. Now those were all just regular copy paper. This is some cardstock. I think it absorbs the print better just on the regular copy paper. This is a little thicker, so when you put it on the regular copy paper, it really absorbs it. So that would be my personal choice. Plus it's cheaper, right? Alright, so then I did that batch in the pan where I folded the bundles, and I only used alum. I did not use any of the iron, or I did not put any chain in. So basically it was a mixture of vinegar, water, and alum that I dipped the leaves into. Now these are the exact type of paper that I just showed you, and the exact same plants that I just showed you, and you're going to see the dramatic difference in the way you use your mordants. Alright, now look at this. Exact same plants And this is a piece of your printmaking paper. And you can see, hold on, right, so this is the one with the alum, and this is the one with the rusty bits. Same plants, same paper, but you can see how dramatically different this all comes out. This the alum brightens it up, and the rust tones it down, and what I call makes it dramatic. So this is dramatic and this is bright, and that is the basic difference. So you may not know what the exact result is going to be, but you know if you manipulate it either with this, with the straight alum, or with the rust, that you are going to have a dramatic difference in your prints. That is for sure. Alright, so let me put this over here, and I'll show another one. Now this is an envelope. You can see it's got soft muted colors compared to this. Now if you look at this right here, this is a eucalyptus, and that's a eucalyptus. Exact same plant, same paper, alum only, rust included. And so you're going to see the difference throughout this. Alright, now this is the print paper. Alright, now this is that newsprint paper, and you can see how light and bright this is. And even though I didn't get a good print on this, you can still see the dramatic difference. How dark this is compared to this one. And depending what you are making, that'll determine if you want to go light and bright or dark. This is watercolor paper. And this is watercolor paper. You can see the difference. Alright, this is the wallpaper liner. I can't remember if I did it in the dark one. I thought I did, but I didn't run across it. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but this here is just some beautiful crystals and shiny. Again, I'm guessing it's the alum, because this was folded, and so maybe it just kind of settled in there, and that's the effect you get. But anyway, pretty cool. This watercolor paper liner, again, something very inexpensive that you can get in a roll. This is just cardstock. This was that, this paper. And I threw in a couple of pages from a book. And depending on the composition of the paper in your book will determine if it prints or not. I got a couple of good prints, and the rest, it just kind of sort of bled all over the place. But still has the nice sound, and you can still use it. Now, this is your mixed media paper. Here is some mixed media in the dark. Big difference, right? Okay. This is a calligraphy paper. And so you're just going to notice how bright all of this comes out. This is the cleanup paper, drop paper, the white one. Same paper. This is the stationery paper. And you can see a big difference when it comes to the vellum. How dark that is. And how nice and bright that is. Mixed media. Look how pretty. Again. Drama. Bright. This is the drawing paper. Stationery paper. What I did with this one is I just laid the leaves out that was on the branch, and then I got one of the Rose of Sharon and just kind of spread it open and laid it there, and I think that came out kind of cool. This is the white drop paper. Same paper. Now, this is cardstock. And you can see the difference between the top of the plant, this is the top, and this is the bottom. It was folded. And you can see how it does print a lot differently. Manila folder. Again, this was folded like that. That's the bottom of the leaf, and this is the top of the leaf. Same thing with the eucalyptus. That's the bottom, this is the top. These are still part of the Rose of Sharon, the blue. Now, this is the scrapbook paper. Now, the paper was already kind of dark, so that's why it's not as bright, but it's still, you can still feel that brightness coming through. This is that newsprint. Has that light and airy feel. And I can see the sparklies on this one too. I love how these came out. This is the mixed media. Now what happened with this was the leaves back here, the reason these color, okay, this leaf is the same as this leaf, but what happened was this color bled through and really dramatically changed the look of this leaf. And so again, once you start practicing and you see what each plant does, then you can kind of play with it and see what you can create. I didn't do this on purpose, it was totally by accident, but I'm going to try and do it again and see if I can get the same effect watching this bleed back onto this leaf. Manila folder. Same thing happened here. This bled back here, and so it kind of affected this print. Alright, so when I took all of the leaves off of those, I did the same thing. I laid the leaves on some copy paper, and these are the prints that I ended up with. Now those were all copy paper, and this is that stationery paper that I use. I'm running low on this. I'm going to have to find some more. Alright, so the next thing I will show you, and get this out of the way, are the ones that I put around that tin can that I rolled up. And I'll show you what happened with those. Okay, so in addition to the ones that I rolled around the can, I put a few in there flat, and I folded them, and I inserted a lid to a can just to test and see what would happen. And I like how these came out. This was folded like that, and then this was just inserted in there. Kind of cool. Now remember, these only have the alum, and any kind of rust and darkness that you see comes from the can or from the lid. Again, this is totally different from either of the other two that I've showed you. It's something kind of in between. You got a little bit of drama, but then still the leaves are really quite bright. Alright, so now I'm going to show you what I actually wrapped around the can. You can see part of the can, and this was all wrapped around, and I had put flowers in the middle, and you can see how that came out. And this is the mixed media paper. And this was the part that was exposed. This was sitting up against the can, wrapped around like that. And here's another one. I did 2 cans, and I put 2 papers on each one. And you can see how this was up against the can itself. Pretty cool. Now, a few days before, I had tested doing it on the can because I hadn't done it before. I'd wanted to, but I hadn't. And this is how the can one came out. And this particular one, what I did is I used the water from another boil that I had put the chain in. So the chain wasn't actually in this boil, but the residue was. And you can see how that made a big difference. Very dramatic. Alright, so you can see how you have a certain degree of control, of manipulation. You may not always know what the outcome will be, but you know you can bring it to something bright or dramatic, or maybe something a little bit of both, in between. And that is all the fun part. This type of art is something that you learn something new every time you do it. And you know how they always tell you practice, practice, practice? Well, in this particular case, it is so true, because every single time you are going to attempt to do this, you're going to get a different result. Are you going to like all of them? Maybe not, but you're going to learn something. And even if, for instance, this was what I just wrapped around the can, you know, to protect it when I tied it up. You can go ahead and use these again. If you have a print, say this print is just too blah for you, put another plant in there. The next time you do a bundle, stick it in, and you'll have a new print on there on top of what you already have. And that's another way that you can create your compositions to get certain looks that you want. Do your prints, let them dry, come back, reprint on them. You might be using different plants. You might decide to put it in a dye bath of a certain color. You play with it. This is your art, and this is the way you're going to make things that are very unique that other people just don't have, because you're not going to be able to do it again either. So I hope that, you know, this has answered a lot of the questions that you had. I hope I helped you see that this is an art form that you can do. It's easy to do. It just takes a lot of patience and a lot of practice. And you can't control everything. If you know your personality is you want to predetermine how these things are going to come out, you're going to be very frustrated. This art is very freeing because you have to let go and just let it happen. And sometimes that's when the beauty happens, when you let go. Really, when it comes to, and isn't that really true about all forms of art? You can see when something is forced. It just doesn't flow. It doesn't look as pretty. And when something just organically happens that you didn't have planned, aren't those the ones you always end up saying, wow, I really like this. I don't know how I did it, but I like it. And that's going to be true for this. If this ends up being something that you pursue and do more practicing with, you are really, really going to enjoy it. It's so relaxing once you let the tension out of your body. Once you know what you're doing, at least the steps, the steps that you need to do. It's a very, very freeing, relaxing experience. So I hope I have addressed a lot of issues for the beginners. This workshop deals with all of the fundamentals, but there's so much more to learn. There's more mordants that you can be adding. There are more things that you can add to your dye baths to create other drama, but we can't get into everything in a beginner's workshop. So I hope I've addressed enough to whet your appetite and to determine if this is something that you want to pursue. And if it is, there is a lot of information. You have to hunt, but there is information out there. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I will leave contact information with you so that if you have further questions, if I have the answers, I will try and answer them for you. As always, I hope I've inspired you to try something new.